Hello there, it's me. So, what we're going to look at now is this story about the LA riots from 7 News. Are they Australian? So, shout out to 7 News anyway for their coverage. I've not seen this yet, so we're going to be looking at this together. Um, the headline here is LA riots intensify as protesters try to protect illegal immigrants from Trump's crackdown. 7 News. Now, before we get started, I'd just like to point something out. That protesters are protecting illegal immigrants. What's wrong with that sentence? Protesters are protecting illegal immigrants. They're illegal. They shouldn't be in the country. Any person who is in a country and has arrived there illegally should have their case judged expediently, and if they are indeed or are convincing enough to say that they're having to flee their country because of political views or whatever, i.e. an asylum seeker, then deal with them accordingly. Give them shelter, assess their case. When the situation improves in their country, allow them to go back because they're no longer in danger. So if they're legit, and I know we're getting into a massive area there where it's like, how do you prove if they're legit? How do you not prove if they're legit? Well, I mean, there are processes in place to do this, so we need to exercise those processes to the fullest extent in order to get to the bottom of every case. The protesters. Now, I've been doing a lot of research over the last couple of years about protests because I couldn't believe that a bunch of people who said that they were going to protest peacefully, within an hour of the protest starting, rocks would start to get thrown and it would all go pear-shaped in a very short order, and the protesters then being interviewed afterwards were saying, and seemed genuinely so to be saying, we don't know how this happened, this isn't our people. So that got me interested in, well, whose people are they if these protesters are telling the truth? And there's interesting footage on the internet of saboteurs on some of these protests coming in. It sounds absurd and medieval. They'd come in with like bags full of rocks and they'd empty them out at street corners and things. And there's one video in particular of a protester, and the protest hadn't got underway yet. It was due to come through this area, and they were like scouting ahead. I don't know what the entire situation was, but it's on video. They're being filmed, and one guy says to this chap who's dropping these rocks at this street corner, he's got a mask on, and as we know, some protesters do wear masks because they don't want to be identified. He grabs him and he throws him round, kind of wrestles him to the floor, and bizarrely the police come running to his aid, get the protester off him, and rather than arrest him, they kind of like shepherd him away. And that really got my attention. And as we know, the secret state does all kinds of deplorable things on its own people, and has been doing so for the last 70, 80 years and probably much longer, who knows. So when I hear a headline like LA riots intensify as protesters try to protect illegal immigrants from Trump's crackdown, any inquiring mind would ask questions about that, both for and against your own personal point of view. So let's have a look and see what 7 News have to say about this.
After its third and worst day of the riots so far, as protesters try to protect illegal immigrants from Donald Trump's crackdown.
They're being rounded up and deported in record numbers. This is the city right now. It's just gone 1 o'clock in the morning. And as you can see, a lot of police, roads blocked. It follows a day that has shaken the city to its foundations.
The City of Angels looks more like hell right now.
We do not need to see our...
So, firstly, the City of Angels seems more like hell now. It's all really inflammatory reporting. Whatever happened to a really unbiased, fair enough, you could reasonably say, well, the young kids of today, you need to keep them engaged. Really? They're not stupid. Well, not all of them anyway. You can just tell them something and leave them to make their own minds up about it. But it's like the news nowadays is always, there's always an agenda to be sort of steered towards from one side or the other. And then we get onto this mayor, the LA mayor, is it Mayor Bell? And wasn't she, when Trump came in, she was in danger of losing a position? So straight away there's a conflict there. And we know that they're not Trump supporters in California. At least the establishment systems, if I can put it that way, seem to be this liberal left who are allowing all the people to come in unvetted and unfettered. That's what it seems like, at least, from what we're given. So, let's have a listen.
City torn apart.
It might be too late for that. Ignited by Donald Trump ordering in the National Guard, thousands of them, against the advice of local authorities. It's only the second time a president has ever done that.
Well, we're going to have troops everywhere. We're not going to let this happen to our country. We're not going to let our country be torn apart.
The consequences, plain to see.
Trump hates us. He hates sanctuary cities. He's going to try and make an example out of us.
Fire in the streets. Rage in the air.
Well, let's just say, playing devil's advocate, because that was a politician just then, that woman, who said he hates sanctuary cities, they're going to make an example out of us. I think she's a politician. Isn't that the appropriate thing to do? If, indeed, you've got illegal immigrants in this situation being protected, but they're, I'll say it again, illegal, and it's your goal as Trump to get these people out, then aren't you going to try and make an example of that city? As unpalatable as that sounds, aren't you going to make an example of that city? I would have thought, yes.
And fear everywhere.
Well, I'm worried about everybody. I'm worried about members of law enforcement. I'm worried about the safety of the people who are peacefully protesting.
It's not like
Bass, not Bell. I do apologise.
we're in war, it's just protesting.
The trigger for the president? Protesters spitting on police.
They spit, we hit.
They hit all right and hard.
Here we go, pepper spray. We're moving backwards, guys. We're moving backwards. Pepper spray. They mean business, these guys. The pepper spray, the tear gas is in the air. It just gets to the back of your throat, straight up into your nose. It makes it hard to breathe.
Running battles have continued all day. As federal agents round up suspected illegal immigrants and their supporters. They're ruthless and relentless.
Officers are deploying tear gas canisters, rubber bullets at will, and pepper spray, firing them into the crowd every couple of minutes. Another flashbang grenade, doing all they can to try to...
At this point, when we've seen all this like destruction and harm being brought to individuals, I just want to highlight the fact that there are citizens of this town who can't use their city, who, regardless of their political views, are unable to use their city, who are potentially at risk of violence from any number of people. And when we hear headlines where you've got illegal immigrants, and again, I have to stress, this is about illegal immigrants. This is not about immigration generally. If you're an immigrant and you go to a country and you follow the procedure, many people are successful, integrate wonderfully, and immigrants are, in many cases, the heartbeat of countries. They they come together in their own little communities and they're hard working, they want to succeed because they've come from situations that don't give them as much as the country they travel to. And again, I just want to say that this is about illegal immigrants. You can't state that enough. That if they haven't gone into the system, they should have done. You have to take your chances. Otherwise, this is the ultimate upshot. You end up being disenfranchised against the system that you never fully engaged with in the first place for fear of being told no. And I'm not saying they're right or wrong. I'm saying that's the situation that they're in.
Push this crowd backwards, but we are hearing that there are many, many more protesters on their way.
There's no chance of that. Donald Trump is now threatening to unleash the military, a step up from the National Guard, using a long-forgotten 18th century law.
Donald Trump needs to pull back. He needs to stand down. Donald Trump is inflaming these conditions.
So Gavin Newsom, who's been in charge of this sanctuary city, and if you believe what's being said about the Biden administration and Newsom and Mayor Bass, that as a sanctuary city, they were allowing people just to come in to the country from Mexico. So let's say for a moment that was a political move, that there's an agenda. Let's just be hypothetical about this and consider things that are a little outside of what might be considered mainstream. So if they are allowing these people in, and let's say, for instance, Gavin Newsom and Bass and the Liberal left, as they are in this particular instance, allowing these or possibly even encouraging these riots for their own political ends. Because let's face it, politics is a dirty business, no matter which side of the aisle you're on. So what if this is actually planned? Then everything that's going on and being said by Bass, Newsom, etc., makes perfect sense. They were against Trump when he came in. They're still against Trump. Trump had 2 attempts on his life. And I'm not even really a Trump fan, I have to be honest, but I think he's a shot in the arm that America needs right now. No pun intended. So Trump is doing something. He's deeply unpopular with these people. Wouldn't they, these political animals, wouldn't they use this to their advantage? Wouldn't they milk this for everything that it was worth? At the cost of the safety of the citizens of the city that they are supposed to be in charge of. I mean, this situation just sucks.
How are they doing? These guys need to grow up. They need to stop.
We have to maintain the rule of law, and that is not what is happening there. So the president stepped in. That's real leadership, and he has the authority and the responsibility to do it.
That screams dictatorship!
For now, LA is burning again. Just 6 months after the deadly wildfires, a city that should be healing
Oh no,
is a combat zone instead.
We have fires burning in the middle of intersections. We have police and law enforcement agencies under constant attack by these protesters. They have had rocks hurled through the windscreen of their cars. And now they are firing fireworks directly at officers who have backed off a bit, I've got to say.
People are terrified.
And no one knows how or when this chaos will end.
All right, Rob Scott and Miley Hogan join us live from Los Angeles now. Rob, to you first. California.
If this is indeed a false flag, let's just consider for a moment that this is a false flag instigated by the Liberal left, then are there avenues Trump can go down to find out who's behind all this? And there are all kinds of stories coming out that on Facebook in the area that protesters are being told how to get weapons, and other things like that. And when I said that, the first thing that came to mind then was, somebody dropping rocks at the corner of an intersection. Oh goodness. I mean, who knows what to believe anymore, frankly, I just want people to stop hurting each other.
Yeah, is laying the entire blame for this violence with the president.
Yeah, that's right, Michael. And after having been railroaded by Donald Trump and the National Guard, the state will rush to court tomorrow morning to sue the president. The state's lawyers arguing that his actions have just inflamed this crisis, and they say deploying the National Guard was illegal, immoral, and unconstitutional. But, Michael, as we know, Donald Trump has become an expert at dealing with lawsuits.
Hold on. How can it be illegal? And the chance in their arm, I think, and we all know this is what happens. This lawfare, I think the term is nowadays, and they're going to utilize that weapon as well as they can. No, fair enough, that's fine. But isn't the National Guard on home soil exactly for these situations when things get out of hand? Back in the day when they had the LA riots, didn't they bring the National Guard out then? I mean, in the UK back in the 80s, during the miners' riot, they used the police. And they used the police undercover as well to undermine the whole sort of union thing.
All right, thank you, Rob. Now to Miley. How do things look on the streets right now?
Hey, good evening, Angie. Well, tension is still high on the streets in downtown Los Angeles. Just behind me at the moment, fireworks are going off. A group of police officers have just run down there to try and get control of that situation. I have to say, at this stage of the morning, there are now more police officers on the ground here than there are demonstrators. Just a short time ago, though, we did take these images. You can see police officers firing tear gas into the crowd of demonstrators. Those demonstrators retaliating with fireworks and other objects. It is an unlawful assembly now declared in downtown Los Angeles, meaning anyone that's not here is subject to arrest. At this stage, police are on very high alert, reacting to those eruptions of protests that are concentrated in certain areas. But at this stage, they do appear to have control of the situation, Angie.
Okay, Marley Hogan, thank you.
Well, thank you, 7 News Australia. I don't know. I'm not sure what to think. I have a series of ideas based on the research that I've done myself personally, based on the information that I receive via the headlines. I mean, the media generally is, I don't know, it seems to me to be a bit, sort of like against Trump. And if you believe if you've looked into it, the whole World Economic Forum, the WEF, is that a thing? Does that play into this? I mean, who knows? All we can say is that there are people in LA being hurt. And as I said previously, the situation sucks. So, this is me signing off. Until next time, look after yourselves.